What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the 10th, the big 1-0 episode of Xbox Chaturdays. Today I'm joined by the rad, the awesome Logan Meyer, and today we're going to be playing totally reliable delivery service, talking about the Game Awards, talking about the somewhat disastrous launch for Cyberpunk 77, and diving a little bit into kind of what we hope to see from Xbox in 2021. Logan, how are you doing on this blessed Saturday?
Oh, I'm doing good, Miles. Today's already off to a great start. Got to spend my morning talk about games, so few ways to start Saturday off better, am I right?
That's right. That's what it's all about. So, for people who don't know you, Logan, let's get the quick spiel on Logan Meyer. What are you about? What are you into? What's your vibe?
What is my existence? I basically, if you follow me or know me on Twitter, I'm all about gaming, all about sports. Kind of like I write about both. I have Pixel Owl, which I do some articles for, and then I have Owl About Gaming, which I do gaming podcast, and then I'm also a writer and cover the NBA, cover the Oklahoma City Thunder for Bricktown Buckets and Daily Thunder because gaming and basketball are my two biggest passions. So I just like, why not do both?
Why not do?
So,
Hey, there you go. Diversify. Do you like real sports? Ew.
I know it's like what, but
A
yeah.
gamer that likes sports? Impossible.
Yeah. That's one thing I've really loved about especially the turn of the century. It's like the stereotypes about gaming and everything have like completely washed away, and at least in the last 5 years, like all walks of life, like it's no longer, what your vision in the 90s of what a gamer was is definitely not what a gamer is today.
It's nice. Yeah, it's definitely the tone is shift. Gaming has become more of an accessible thing. Everyone plays games nowadays. The majority of people, I guess maybe not statistically the majority, but a huge percentage of people play games. So it's not that weird to talk to somebody who plays games and also has other hobbies. I've talked about this before on other podcasts, but I really don't even like using the term gamer because it just, I don't know. It simplifies who we are as people. I'm a gamer. People assume that your only hobby is gaming, but you can play and love video games and not necessarily be a gamer. But
Exactly. I mean, I do more than crack open a Mountain Dew and eat Doritos on sitting on the couch. I do more than that. So
that's my existence, bro.
yeah.
Gaming is a lifestyle. It's not a hobby. All right. I dedicate my life to scouring the internet, destroying people who try to be fake gamers.
Oh my gosh, get on my level. It's just
But it's awesome to have you. If you guys haven't catched us before, Logan and I've been on Logan's podcast a few times. Every time we get together, it's always a lot of conversation, a lot of fun. So I'm excited to have him on Xbox Chaturdays with me. And starting off right away with some super chat hype from the Glitch Doctor. Nice to have you back. A Saturday without Chaturdays made my last Saturday slightly. Aw. That's some word. Is that some wordplay? Was that intentional wordplay? Because if so, I like it.
I'm getting Adam Sandler and Mr. Deeds holiday card vibes from that. I like it.
All right, so let me get you in the game real quick here, and then we're gonna kick it off by talking about the Game Awards. We're gonna dive straight into that. I went into the Game Awards with kind of mild expectations, especially after last year's, because last year started off really strong. Obviously, we had the reveal of the Xbox Series X and what that looked like, as well as the reveal of Hellblade 2, which was pretty wild. So that started off strong, but from there, it kind of tapered off, in my opinion. It didn't really keep momentum from there. There were some interesting reveals, and it felt okay, but after about an hour, I was like, how long is this thing? How long is this going to go? Which is a huge shift from this year, where the entire time, like I was shocked. I was shocked several times by some of the announcements, which I quite honestly was not expecting. Xbox came out and said, curb your expectations. Don't go in expecting anything too crazy. And then, like, towards the beginning, they reveal Perfect Dark. Okay, cool. That's all right. That's one way to do it. So What were your thoughts overall with the Game Awards? How did you feel? Did you watch it live?
No, I caught glimpses. I had some family over, so I didn't watch it live, but I caught glimpses and everything. But I really enjoyed it personally. I think they, whatever your opinions are on his preferences, I think that Joff does a really good job running the show, and he does a great thing for the industry.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
he he put on a great show. The music was awesome. I love the scores. The awards are fun. I mainly tune in for reveals because that's my thing. Where are you? I'm gonna try to find you. Okay, there you are. But yeah, the I tune in for the reveals, and Perfect Dark was incredible. I'm so happy about that, and I feel vindicated. I'm like, I think they're doing Perfect Dark, and then there's like this recent people like, no, we're definitely not doing Perfect Dark, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden, oh yeah, it is Perfect Dark.
I know we talked
So
about that months ago on your podcast about how, the rumors were that the initiative is working on a new Perfect Dark and that it maybe won't be called Perfect Dark, but it'll be in that universe. So it was kind of cool to see that not only is that true, but they are just straight up calling it Perfect Dark. So it's has Joanna Dark, it's a full on reboot.
yeah, I really like how they're kind of going away from the whole cyberpunk esque thing and doing kind of like an eco sabotage terrorist vibe like 20, 30 years or so from now,
I like that.
instead of like there's still the corruption, there's still data dying and hacking and spying, but it feels more like Splinter Cell with Joanna Dark than there's aliens and everything cyberpunk, especially since cyberpunk just came out. I feel like it'd be kind of it'd be I don't know, people would view it a little differently, I think.
Absolutely. Shout out to some peeps in the chat. Psychonauts8, Grudge Evo, Progene? Glitch Doctor, Jonathan Grisula, and Yodani. How y'all doing on this blessed Saturday? I felt the same way though about Perfect Dark. Like I honestly didn't even know what the trailer was gonna be until I saw that Datadyne logo. And I was like, oh damn, this is the new Perfect Dark. This gritty eco-terrorist ecological disaster setting is going to be where the new Perfect Dark takes. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm so down for that. And then the spiritual successor to Dead Space. I was like, "Oh my gosh, we went there."
Dude, seriously, Callisto Protocol. If you guys haven't watched that trailer, check it out. That is another one that I was just really confused by. I had some serious Dead Space vibes from it, and then Jeff says that as well and brings out the one of the creators of Dead Space who's kind of heading this project. So that is really cool.
Oh, and then Fast and the Furious Vin Diesel and Arc 2.
Oh,
That that, that
that
looks
was that
great.
was a bombshell. The whole Arc 2 build up.
Yeah.
I was watching in a party chat with some friends and we were so confused. We're like, okay, what is this a Turok reboot? What is First off, why is Vin Diesel here? Like, why are we watching a 5-minute trailer of Vin Diesel walking around the jungle, and then all of a sudden he does that thing where he looks at the little like diamond on his wrist? I'm like, oh my god, this is Arc. Is this some like Vin Diesel Arc crossover? And then no, it's actually Arc 2 starring Vin Diesel somehow. I don't even know what this game is going to be. It's got to be an open world sandbox of some kind, but with more story elements and more Vin Diesel.
I mean that sounds great to me. I've been intrigued by Arc, but I kind of like games to have a story focus for me personally anyway.
Yeah, it'll be nice
So,
to have more of a focus because I'm one of the fools who has put hundreds and hundreds of hours into Arc. I love the sandbox kind of survival.
yeah.
Um, so I'd be excited to see them kind of expand upon that. I pray to the gamer god Almighty that they actually build a new engine that doesn't run like complete ass.
You don't want the Bethesda engine anymore?
Because I mean, as much as I loved Arc, dear God, that game runs like garbage. Even on the Series X, like it's Xbox Series X and S enhanced. It
hmm
No, it's the frame rate is still poopy. I've played it on PC as well, and I have an RTX 2070, and like I can run it fine. I can get it up to 60 consistently, but I got to turn a bunch of settings down. So it's not the most optimized engine, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But that one was revealed. I love Returnal. I'm excited for that. Of course, I'm one of the millions who hasn't managed to snag a PS5 yet. But
Same, bro. I've been holding out for the digital edition. I've had a few opportunities to buy the disc edition, but I just don't care enough about the disc. I don't have any PS4 discs still, outside of I have Bloodborne, Uncharted 4 on disc. Everything else is digital, so I don't want to pay the $100 for something I will literally never use. I'm just waiting until those get in stock. But I've been checking. I've been popping in the queues and waiting for like an hour, not getting one.
yeah, I feel you. I'm probably just gonna wait till next year at this point. But
Yeah.
I've been loving my Series X, and all the older games just run so much better, and it's
No,
just
I know it's been so good to go back and play old games. Like that's what I've been doing. I've been replaying all the Dark Souls Remastered, Dark Souls 2, Scholar, the first sin. I beat Sekiro. I've been on a big old Souls kick, and that's the main driver from wanting a PS5 is because I want to play Demon Souls with all the kids.
oh my gosh, before Cyberpunk, that was all I saw on the timeline, and like randomly people creating Kanye in the game.
Oh yeah,
and-
Kanye, Shrek.
yeah.
Seen some really amazing stuff in the character creator. John had a funny tidbit earlier about you and I saying that I'm from Seattle, which is where the Sonics started, and then Logan writes for the Thunder, which is what the Sonics turned. But
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, man.
yeah. So yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the Night of Spiritual Successors. Touched on Callisto Protocol, which was the
Yes.
spiritual successor to Dead Space. And then we also got the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, Back for Blood as well.
Oh man,
Which, I mean, it looks a little janky. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
The pre-alpha footage that they showed was not 60 FPS, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
I'm still stoked. Like, that is Left 4 Dead. Like, that is essentially our Left 4 Dead 3. I love that they just embraced it and even put the 4 in the title, in the logo. I'm stoked for that. It was a great night for people who've been dying for a new Dead Space, who've been dying for a new Left 4 Dead. You have these big publishers and companies who just haven't wanted to do it. They haven't wanted to give the fans and players what they want. So it's cool to have these teams with the original creators and talent behind them saying, all right, you know what? We're going to make it. If Valve doesn't want to do Left 4 Dead 3, we're going to make Back for Blood. Peace. If EA going to shutter Visceral and doesn't want to do Dead Space and they're just going to sit on the IP, we're going to make Callisto Protocol. So it's really awesome to see these vibes at least carry on, even though they might not be in name. No, it's not officially Dead Space and it's not officially Left 4 Dead. Have brand power. It's still really cool. Those exist in some way, shape.
100%. It's like the whole Thanos, like, fine, I'll do it myself. They put
Exactly.
the glove on, and then, but I'm really excited for Back for Blood. That was originally the working title for Left 4 Dead 2, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there's an Easter egg tied to that. Yeah, so it's really cool that exists. And the trailer that they showed was so Left 4 Dead. The cinematic of you like panning across the map and going into the safe room, all the different specialty zombies, all felt so much Left 4 Dead. But it seems like they're trying to understand that they won't really be able to successfully just put out another Left 4 Dead like as Left 4 Dead was. I'm glad to see them adding like the giant gargantuan zombie and other creatures to kind of mix the experience up, because as amazing as Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 are, you need a little more need some more mechanics nowadays. Like,
Yeah, the game has definitely changed. Pun intended. So
pun intended.
They have to keep it rolling. But were there any other reveals that just had you super stoked? Or
Dude, not Left 4 Dead, but The Evil Dead the game. That blew my goddamn mind. I was not like the way Jeff was talking about. He's like, and here's the return of a franchise that people love, and I'm like, it's gonna be Right, let's see. And then it starts panning across the map, and I start seeing stuff from Left 4 Dead, or not Left 4 Dead, but Evil Dead. I'm like, oh my god, they're doing a new Evil Dead game. They're doing a new Evil Dead game. That's insane. And then they do the big reveal that it's all of the actors from the movies and the TV show. So they have the actor who played the Knight in Army of Darkness. They had the actor who played, get her name, from Ash versus Evil Dead, the TV series. Obviously, Bruce Campbell is Ash. And then they reveal that, I mean, they haven't officially confirmed, but they revealed in the trailer that it is a 4-player co-op Evil Dead game. And I'm like, what? We haven't had an Evil Dead game for 50 years. The last one was Evil Dead Regeneration on the OG Xbox and PS2, which is a pretty great game, by the way. If you haven't played it. It probably doesn't hold up, but for its time, it was pretty dope. And to see that, and Saber Interactive is involved, so I assume they're going to be using, or at least leveraging, the World War Z engine. Because that was kind of
that game.
And that game was great, super underrated. The only problem with World War Z is that the setting was kind of boring. It was very realistic. So it was just human zombies that were workers. But I want to see that engine in something more fantastical, like Evil Dead. Have demons, and you can kind of do whatever you want with it. I think that'll be a little more exciting.
Yeah, and also Crimson something, or was it Crimson Desert? Looked pretty good as well.
Oh yeah, Crimson Desert. Oddly enough, is by the team that did Black Desert. So now they're going to have Black Desert, which was a pretty decent MMO. They're going to have Crimson Desert, which looks really interesting. Like stylistically and like that world, I'm really excited to check out. Like the sequence when they were on the back of the dragon flying as all the like like arrows and bombs being shot at them, that was epic. That looked really, really cool. Again, that ran like complete trash. Like that was running at like 10 FPS. So that's a little concerning, but it looked really good.
Yeah, definitely. And then we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Dragon Age and, I don't know, Liara showing up randomly at the end of the show with Mass Effect.
Yeah, BioWare fans got some real treats. BioWare fans got, a little taste of some Dragon Age, and I have to go on a little rant here about the Mass Effect thing. I've complained about this on Twitter, but I'm really over BioWare's whole, hey, this franchise still exists, like marketing campaign that they've been doing for all their IP recently. I thought, as cool as it was to know that a new Mass Effect was coming, I thought the way that they did that was so lame. They're like, Mass Effect is still happening. I'm like, cool, thank you. That was kind of lame. Like, obviously the fans are going to be excited, and that's obviously who it was for, but BioWare's in a position where I don't want to hear about them having 3 projects going on simultaneously, because their last few have not fully delivered. So the more projects that I know they're undertaking, the less confident I am in the games that they're going to put out. And I know they have different teams, blah, 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 but let's be real. On Andromeda and Anthem back-to-back have kind of painted BioWare and their team in a pretty negative light, whether or not you like those games.
Yeah, I know it always feels harsh to say that, oh, BioWare's dead or whatever, but I mean, it doesn't feel like BioWare, like, I don't know, I sound like big boomer energy, but my BioWare, it doesn't feel like that. Like
not my BioWare.
I know. It doesn't feel like Knights of the Old Republic and Jade Empire and Baldur's Gate and all these others. It just, I don't know. It's just, they're there, but they're not there.
And that's, like nobody, I don't want to see BioWare fail. Like that's not what anybody wants. Everyone wants BioWare to get back to their kind of former glory and like get back to the days where everything they put out, people were obsessed about and loved. But Dragon Age Inquisition, the development for that was just a lucky mess. Like I know that game won Game of the Year, and a lot of people loved it, but that was just a fluke. Like the way that game was developed was just awful, not sustainable. And then they started to pay for that afterwards when Andromeda released and Anthem released. So I would love to see them focus on Dragon Age or one IP and just kill it, to come back in a really big way and deliver a game that everyone is just stoked about. And then from there, you can regain people's faith and trust a little bit and start announcing other projects. But if we're supposed to believe that you're working on a new Mass Effect, a new Dragon Age, and relaunching Anthem at the same time, I don't have any confidence that all three of those are going to.
Yeah, it's especially with the leadership evacuations. I
Yeah,
mean,
everyone's jumping ship, which, I mean, maybe they'll have a new team in that can kind of like restructure and get a management system in that's not awful. But
mhm.
I don't know. And again, I'm not trying to be cynical or like make people feel bad about being excited for Mass Effect. I'm just hoping that BioWare doesn't do the same thing that they've been doing with all of their games recently, announcing them way too early, having way too much hype, and then just completely not delivering on the hype. And I'm in the wheel of this car.
Yeah, and my guys just I don't even know what's happening. I don't. Okay, there we go. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed the Game Awards, and the Cyberpunk car coming to Forza Horizon 4 is awesome. That I know that's a small little thing, but I love hot rod cars, so getting that in the game is awesome to me.
Yeah,
And
that was
then
pretty cool to see.
Master Chief is going to be dabbing it up in Fortnite now, so
It's I'm excited, and I'm also scared that there's going to be a contingent of people who see Halo Infinite and go, "Oh, dude, the guy from Fortnite's getting his own game."
oh my gosh. Yeah, and then I've already seen some people clowning and saying, "Look, Master Chief on PlayStation or Kratos on Xbox." I'm like, "You guys know what this is, and I'll stop it."
Yeah,
But
exactly. Like I saw people clowning on Kratos and trying to like, it's silly. Fortnite is. It's about taking all these ridiculous. Oh my god! It's
whoa.
about taking all these ridiculous fandoms and combining them together. But
Yeah,
I installed Fortnite after Master Chief was revealed just to go check it out,
same here.
and then I saw that he was like $24
What?
to get Master Chief. It's like $24 US, and I was like, what the?
I
No,
mean,
God!
this is a game I've never actually even played, and I wanted to check it out because of Master Chief, but 24, oof.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've played Fortnite. I dabbled with it a little bit. I bought into it before it was a battle royale because I like the save the world. But how the times have changed and how save the world has kind of been just it still exists, but it's not nearly getting the same love that the battle royale is. But yeah, I wanted to. If Master Chief was $5, I would have paid.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't play Fortnite, probably would have played Master Chief once and moved on with my life. But him being, I think it's 2,400 V-Bucks. I was just like, oh.
Must resist, yes. It's and then I'm trying to think what the other big and for the awards themselves, I think it was pretty expected going in what game was gonna clean shop and it did. So
Yeah, exactly. And people have their opinions. I don't feel strong. I don't feel strongly because I didn't play The Last of Us 2. I know a lot of people were salty that won so many things. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who absolutely love it, even despite the issues with the story itself. Like from what I've seen from a gameplay perspective, it did a lot of interesting things with mocap and acting and kind of immersive video game storytelling. I didn't play it. I thought The Last of Us 1 was great up until the point where it wasn't.
mhm.
So I didn't finish The Last of Us 1. In my opinion, The Last of Us 1 though has one of the most like engaging and powerful opening sequences in video game history, but
Mhm.
I just don't like Naughty Dog's third person stealth gameplay. I just don't
Yeah.
think it feels good. And that's what a lot of the game was. So I'm just not a stealth fan. Like if I don't have the option to run in and just blast people, I don't know. I don't have a good time. I know some people can deal with that. I beat Sekiro, so that's got an element of stealth to it, but I don't connect with stealth gameplay most of the time.
So are you speaking of stealth and Perfect Dark and are you a Splinter Cell disciple or no?
No. I mean, yeah. So if Perfect Dark is kind of like the spiritual successor to both Perfect Dark and Splinter Cell, like some people want it to be, that'll be awesome. I don't see myself playing a lot of it if that's the case. Just because, again, if they give me the option to just run in and just blast people with cool gadgets, I'll play it. because I like the Hitman games because you can kind of do either or, give some kind of versatility there. But if I can only do stealth, that's gonna be a no for me.
Yeah, I mean, based on the very limited they gave us, it kind of looks like you're going to be able to have your options to where you can go in. All right, guns blazing, got my dual pistols, and I'll just slide across this walk, and just go in guns blazing. Or I could set up a laptop gun and put it on the wall and blast things that way. So,
Give me some options, all right? I just need like I'm playing Cyberpunk right now, and I'm going all stats into body, all stats into just melee weapon. I'm just running in with my knuckles and a baseball bat and just destroying people. That's super fun. Like I'm having a blast doing it. Like you have the option do the tech trees and the stealth, but just let me punch someone's head off, okay? That's all I want.
speaking of Cyberpunk, what are your impressions of that?
A lot of you might remember on the last episode of Xbox Chaturdays, I told you that Cyberpunk is coming out on December 10th, no matter what. That's pretty much kind of how I phrased it. That no matter what the state of the game is, it is coming out on December 10th. So I told a lot of people to kind of be ready for some jank. Be ready for a little bit of weirdness. And then nobody got codes for the console versions, which started adding to the weirdness of the release. Like, we didn't see any console footage ahead of launch. And then it launched, and everyone saw how ridiculously bad it runs on the base Xbox One. Just absolutely unacceptably bad. We're talking 15 FPS, massive texture pop-ins. People's faces are just made of clay. So I'm playing on the Series X, so my experience overall has been buggy as hell, but it hasn't been awful in terms of like performance. The game is mostly at 60 FPS. There's dips in a lot of areas, but mostly in a lot of the areas it's pretty much locked at 60. So performance for me hasn't been bad. But dude, the bugs. Oh my god, dude. Okay, maybe not every single cutscene, but no exaggeration, over 50% of the cutscenes that have an object in them, the object freezes in place. So you'll have somebody like Johnny Silverhand smoking. He'll throw a cigarette on the ground. The cigarette is just floating right in front of his face. And then a second one will pop in over here, and a third one will pop in over here. So you have these stationary floating objects in all these cutscenes. Okay, I mean, RIP to any sort of immersion you're trying to have. Thankfully, again, I'm not really taking it too seriously. I'm punching people's heads off. But there was a cinematic where I was waiting in an alley. So I was waiting with my homie in the alley, and we're meeting up with somebody to get some intel. And so he pulls up in his car slowly in this dark alley, turns his lights off, and then instead of slowly opening the car door and getting out, he slowly like teleports through the roof of the car and then glitchily walks off the roof of the car over towards us. And I'm just like, jeez, my god, dude. So it's a hot mess. I don't know if you said you just got your copy, but you haven't really played it much yet.
Yeah, I just got my copy in last night, so I haven't installed it or played it yet. I was personally gonna wait till the Series X enhancements come in because I've got a massive backlog as it is right now. So, I mean, I'm super stoked for Cyberpunk, but I want it to be the best Cyberpunk experience possible. I don't want this janky mess right now. Plus, there was the whole brain dancing thing and a few other things that they were fixing. So I'm just like, you know, I'll let you all get this worked out, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, the game is great. The game is a lot of fun. I have, I think, 18 or 19 hours in my playthrough right now, so I'm pretty deep into it. So the bugs for me so far on Series X at least haven't been game breaking. They've been very consistent. I'm not exaggerating when I've seen hundreds of noticeable major bugs. Hasn't really ruined my desire to continue playing, but it's going to be one of those games where in a year from now it'll be a really great experience. If you can overlook all the bugs right now, there's a lot to love. The gameplay feels really good. Gunplay and driving specifically feel amazing. But Anyone in the chat right now playing on the base Xbox One or PS4? If you are, I want to hear about your experience because I've only seen a bunch of hilarious videos online. I have a couple friends who picked it up on the base Xbox One, and they're really upset. Like they're really disappointed by how bad it runs, and they don't even play like games that often. Like so, they're not even really like that nitpicky when it comes to performance. Like they don't really care about 60 FPS generally or anything like that. But they are really disappointed in how badly this.
Yeah, that kind of makes me. I know Jez tweeted about it the other day, but it kind of makes me question the logic of trying to force Halo Infinite on an Xbox One.
Yeah, we had a little
Like,
post. One of our writers, Richard, wrote up a post after the launch of Cyberpunk, basically like, should Halo Infinite come out on Xbox One now?
it.
So what are your thoughts? Do you think that Cyberpunk is a good example of why games can't run on the base Xbox, or do you think that Cyberpunk was just too ambitious for its own good, which led to way more issues than they knew how to handle?
I think it's partly that because CD Red, they don't half things; they go all in. So I think part of it's that, but I also think part of it is the difficulty of having to make all these operating systems and all these things work for vastly different systems. And I don't know. I personally would just scrap the Xbox One version and just focus wholeheartedly on making sure that Halo Infinite is a 10 on Series X or Series S instead of, I mean, I'd rather it be a 10 or a 9, 8, whatever than be meh and play on both.
Exactly. After seeing how bad Cyberpunk launched in 2020, I'm way happier that Halo Infinite was delayed because I would hate it would be so disappointing to wait all like this long for a new Halo game and have it launch in a state similar to Cyberpunk. Granted, they are very different games. Cyberpunk has way more systems, mechanics, way more room for bugs and glitches,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. It's from what I hear, even if you have an insanely powerful PC, you're not you're struggling to get 60 FPS. I was talking to somebody who has a 3090 and they have to run the game at 1440p with ray tracing off to get close to 60. And it's not even a lot. They can't even like hold 60 consistently. And that's insane. You're expecting people to have basically a $3,000 PC to even get close to 60 FPS. Like, so part of it is that the game is just not optimized. There's a lot of bugs that they couldn't work out, and they were unwilling to delay it. So they basically said, "All right, well, it's going to be good enough, and we'll kind of like fix it as we go," which is kind of the mantra of a lot of modern game development. But I don't know. I'm kind of torn. Like I want Halo Infinite to be the best game that it can be. If that means that the Xbox One version is scrapped and they just focus on Series S and X, cool, so be it. If they feel like they can deliver a decent enough experience of Halo Infinite on the Xbox One, I don't really care. But at least in my opinion, in the case for Cyberpunk, it's obviously those consoles are old and they're dated, but it's really unfair for you to expect your audience to accept that. When you announced Cyberpunk before the Xbox One and PS4 even came out.
8 years ago, yeah.
And that game is marketed super hard on both the PlayStation and Xbox storefront. And like 40 some percent of your 8 million pre-orders were people who playing on consoles. And statistically, that means most people who pre-ordered on a console don't even have the next gen consoles yet. So you can't just say, "Oh, well, you have an Xbox One and PS4, so the game's going to run like trash. Sorry." Like, even most people who want a console right now can't get one. We have to remember that this game was supposed to come back in April, way before the Series X and PS5 were even out. So I see people saying that like, "Oh, if you have a base Xbox One or PS4, then sorry, you just have to deal with it being awful." But no, you don't. You shouldn't have to. It's a major failure on CD Projekt Red's part that the game is that awful on those consoles.
I mean, could you imagine had this come out in April? My goodness.
My God, I can't. Like, seeing how it came out in December, imagine what that April build was. Imagine what the performance on the Xbox One and PS4 was back in April. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been PS1 looking kind of jank probably.
Yeah, Brandon Harden is saying it was made on the One X. Part of the reason they kept saying it'll play best on the Series X. One X runs Gen 8 and Xbox Series X is Gen. So, from my experience and what I've seen between the Xbox One version and the Series X version as of now, all it is just the frame rate's better. The load times are obviously better as well, but there's no other enhancements at all at this point. So the texture pop-in is the same, the resolution is the same, the quality of images and textures is the same between the One X and the Series X. So you're playing the Xbox One version, and your frame rate's better, and your times are better. That's all you can expect on the Series X. I've booted it up on my Xbox One X and my Series X to kind of compare them, and in terms of visual quality, there's no noticeable difference on X, unfortunately. Frame rate, though, my God, so much better. One X struggles. It never really even gets close to 60 in performance mode, and with a ton of dips, at least on the Series X, when you're in performance mode, you're pretty much sticking around 60 mode. Yo, Donnie, later, dude. Sergeant Rake says Miles is sending. That's right. I'm looking out for the people who paid money for that game and can't get a new console. Like, I really hate this mentality of just the super elite. To be a gamer and to enjoy games, you have to spend $3,000 on a PC. That's it. If you don't spend $3,000 on a PC, you don't get to complain about performance. There's a contingent of people who really feel that way, and it's disgusting. I hate it.
Yeah, I'll admit I'm kind of a graphics snob and like have a curved 4K TV and want the best, whatever for consoles and stuff, but I will never clown somebody for just using what they have or can use to play games. I mean, at the end of the day, we're just playing games for fun, and if you're enjoying it, then that's how it should be.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
games are fun. Like, why are so many people obsessed with trying to suck all of the fun out of gaming? It's tiring.
and do you have any like huge expectations or desires for next year for Xbox or heading into 2021?
Um, I'm a little torn right now because obviously 2020 has delayed everything. So just everyone trying to adapt to the kind of work from home lifestyle and get used to that has delayed a lot of stuff. And it's going to mean that 2021 in particular is probably not going to be that packed with major releases. I mean, there's a reason we haven't seen anything from Elden Ring at all. That game is currently in development hell because they've been unable to adapt to work from home. But my expectations from Xbox is to continue pushing Game Pass, continue getting these amazing launches in the Game Pass, whether they're first or third party, and then start showing what you're working on in terms of. Obviously, we know Halo's coming in fall. Show us some Halo gameplay, show us some Hellblade gameplay, show us some other things we haven't seen yet, and let people know what is coming down the pipeline definitively outside of cinematic trailers. I'm not expecting many major first-party Xbox release. One, fortunately, but I do want to see gameplay of those games at least, so I have an idea of what to expect from hopefully in 2022.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I'd like an update on Compulsion, see what they're up to. I know from rumblings it sounds like they're kind of doing something darkly comedic and kind of BioShock-esque, but
I've heard it could be it could be like a horror-ish game as well.
So they really intrigued me with We Happy Few. I know it was a buggy, janky mess when it came out, but I really liked the lore and the idea of some of the stuff they did. And I feel like with Xbox's budget and backing, they could do some really good stuff.
Exactly, and that's We Happy Few was one. It was supposed to be a really small project, a really small roguelike. And then as more attention got, like as more people started paying attention to it, the scope of it started expanding, and it just got to the point where they had original idea and an original engine in mind. They tried to expand from there, and it didn't fully work out. So it would be nice for them to like have a great idea and from the ground up build a larger scale game instead of scaling a really small project into a large scale game and having it be a little bit buggy.
Definitely, and I'd like to see a little bit more Fable, and I mean they just showed Perfect Dark, so we're obviously probably not gonna see much of that, but it'd be cool if we could get just a little glimpse at both of those. But did you notice how they put Series X, Series S on both of those, not Xbox One?
Yeah, I think 2021 will be the last year we see any first party Xbox One. Honestly, they basically I'm gone. They said they're going to support for like 2 years, but I think realistically, at least from the first party side, unless it's like a really easy small scale project, it's going to Series X and S really fast.
Yeah, and I expect we'll probably be getting a lot more grounded stuff in the near future with the official launch
Mm-hmm.
for this year, and then maybe some State of Decay 3 updates because they've been cranking stuff for State of Decay 2 like nuts.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what State of Decay 3 is because State of Decay 2 has become a really great game.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another one that launched in a pretty bad state. But if you've played State of Decay 1, you're familiar with that. It launched in a way better state than State of Decay 1. Kind of renowned for its jank. But I want to see a big... Because even though State of Decay 2 was published by Microsoft, it wasn't a big budget game. Still a pretty indie project. So I want to see this team have a big budget and see what they can do.
Absolutely, and I'm super stoked for Medium. The delay on that made me so sad, but obviously they need some more time. And I'm a big horror movie and game junkie like yourself, so that one's been like on the highlight list for me.
Yeah, I wonder. My running theory is that the Medium was delayed because of Cyberpunk. They did not want to launch their game on the same day, or let alone near Cyberpunk, because let's be real, like even with it being as janky as it is, it's the biggest game this year, and everyone's playing it. You're gonna lose a huge percentage of potential players if you launch your game the same day as Cyberpunk. No matter what the game is, no matter how big or big budget or AAA the game is, you can't really compete with Cyberpunk. It's impossible.
Yeah, that's just smart management. I mean, you'd be setting up a game to fail if you. We've seen companies do that, unfortunately.
Yes, horror is niche. You got to put that game out in a window where there's nothing else around, so people will be more inclined to check it out, especially with the Game Pass launch. If they have some time post Cyberpunk and they're looking for something new, like that's the way to do it.
Definitely. And then there's, let's see, what else? Probably some Age of Empires content we'll be getting next year, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Then, let's see. Bethesda will finally be official. Like, it's known, but the deal will go through.
Yeah, so what is it supposed to be, July or something?
Yeah, something like that. And I'm really excited to see what they're working on. Like, there's buzz that Tango's working on something new as well besides Ghostwire Tokyo. I'd be so happy if it was Evil Within 3. And then I want to see them. I love Arcane. What they've done with Prey and Dishonored is just awesome. Deathloop looks like it's going to be nuts as well.
Yeah, Deathloop looks like.
And then obviously Starfield, whenever they show some more of that, will be a big mic drop moment.
Starfield, yeah, I'm curious to see what that's going to look like. Wondering, people are, kind of anticipating that we might see Starfield in terms of like a release. I'm not really in that camp, but I hope we at least see some gameplay from Starfield. And I at least want to know what that game is. There's been some leaks and some kind of running theories, but officially we don't have any idea what that game is even going to be.
Yeah, we've seen a satellite and some leaked photos. That's about it. So, that one's definitely a big one. And then whatever they end up doing with the Fallout universe, and then if they ever decide to talk more Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah, well, yeah. Again, Bethesda also has had a pretty bad habit of just announcing stuff way too early and not living up to the hype. Fallout 76, I guess, wasn't announced that early, but that did not launch in a great state. At least the next few projects from them, they're taking the time to give us a new engine because Lord knows we need it. I'm so tired of that engine. Really hope the new
Yes.
one has some serious and noticeable improvements because, woo, jeez, dude, they were just
It
beating that engine to death.
Yeah, it was like a duct tape engine at this point. They had been using that forever since Oblivion, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Refinement since Oblivion on that. Just it's too old.
Yeah, and I mean, fine. I guess that check from Phil's gonna allow them to build a new engine finally, because
Check
that's
from
what they were
Phil
waiting.
coming through, coming hot.
Yeah, and then the other studios. Like, I'm curious what Alpha Dog will do, because they've done exclusively mobile. Do you think they're gonna stick that way, or do you think?
Um, Maybe mobile or they. I imagine they'll be leveraged with like Game Pass Android. So maybe they'll be tasked with helping get like touch controls, stuff like that, in a lot of the games that are coming to Game Pass. I know Xbox has kind of been slowly branching out their toolkit for touch control with Game Pass games. So I imagine they'll do that. I don't know, but maybe they'll be expanded into making some other smaller scale projects. But I imagine their primary focus is X Cloud. So
And then there's the studio that was former Human Head devs, that Roundhouse, I think, that they'll be working on an entirely new IP, so that'll be cool.
yeah, that'll be cool to see what they're working on. Yeah, I mean, there's at this point there's a ton of Xbox game studios. So I mean, I guess for you, what do you want to see in 2021? If you could pick two things, two releases for 2021 for Xbox, what would you want to see?
Oh, that's really tough. Obviously, like one of them, I guess I'd say I want Halo Infinite to be amazing. Like it,
It needs to be amazing.
they can't botch this one.
Yeah.
And another one would be just one other just critically well received title. Metacritic is definitely not everything, but for some folks that are casual and just check that before they buy stuff, it matters to them.
hmm that's really
So,
true. Like,
um,
there's weight to it. That's why Cyberpunk was trying to tie people's bonuses to the Metacritic score because
oh my
to a
gosh,
certain degree that affects sales.
we've seen what that happens. Like, Fallout New Vegas, they were 1 point off from bonuses because of one review score. So
They were
it's
what
just
0.1 away or something
yeah, it was
insane.
like 89 something, and they needed 90. It
Yeah,
was brutal.
it's brutal, but clearly people look at that. So yeah, Halo needs to crush it. And then if
I,
when you say one critically received game from Xbox, what do you imagine that? What do you imagine that to be?
I'm not sure what title it would be. I feel like they really need something to knock it out of the park where people go, okay, this is unquestioned greatness, and we need to hop on this. Like, whether that's something that's already been in the works for a while, where and then they stealth release something next year, or what. But I feel like they really just need that one title that isn't like a flight sim or something like
Or
that.
fourth, yeah, let's again. Obviously, we're Xbox fans. Obviously, we love Xbox. I'm playing on an Xbox right now. I primarily play on Xbox, so let me say all of those things before people get upset with me. But I think the Game Awards this year in particular was a good example of where Xbox is failing. I mean, Xbox did have games that were nominated for certain categories, um, but Sony just completely dominated in terms of critical reception. And the Game Awards is this more it's this attempt to make the games industry a little more mainstream and a little more kind of widely accepted and critically praised. So people outside of like the hardcore are looking at Sony and they're saying, "Oh wow, Sony is like the critically acclaimed gaming company." Sony is a better embodiment of like premier gaming. Whether or not you agree with that, whether or not you like their games, from a public reception, from a sales perception, from just a worldwide reception of the games industry, Sony is leading drastically in that regard. Xbox didn't have really any first party major titles nominated for any of the key categories, which sucks to see. Like when you have Sony, who has multiple Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us 2. Sony had those games in a ton of categories. And sure, Flight Sim won, which is cool. Flight Sim was nominated. Grounded was nominated for some accessibility stuff. Ori was nominated for some art direction, but none of those games really won. So it sucks. Like obviously, again, I prefer Xbox, so I want to see Xbox start putting out some genuine competition to those types of titles. I'm a big multiplayer guy. I will lean towards multiplayer stuff all the time, but I understand the importance of those games when it comes to critical reception, when it comes to shifting the narrative that Xbox has no games. Because now it's not that Xbox has no games; it's that PlayStation has better games.
Yeah, Xbox has no good games.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, it's just,
Xbox has no good game.
It's just and the Game Pass filler. Oh, I hate that so much.
Game Pass filler, even though you like look in Game Pass right now has a category of nothing but like Game Awards nominees and winners. So it's not that there aren't good games in Game Pass anymore. That you can't even objectively you can't even say that unless you just hate video games.
Yeah, it's not this dollar menu buffet kind of thing. They've got a good mix of everything. Like
Witcher 3, you got Grand Theft Auto 5, you got Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, I mean, granted, those games cycle in and out, but still, like, look at those titles and you're gonna be like, oh, Game Pass is just nothing but filler. No, stop. That doesn't work anymore. I know that's what you want it to be because you have a bias against Xbox as a whole, but it's not the reality anymore. And then, Xbox just needs to get in a position where their first party stuff, like Netflix, is killing it.
Mm-hmm.
Netflix is like kind of the best comparison. You look at stuff like Orange is the New Black and these other massive shows that just dominated pop culture. Xbox has the potential to do that with Game Pass and Game Pass games, but we just haven't seen it yet. As much as I love a lot of first party stuff that's released in the Game Pass, we haven't seen a Game Pass title come out and just be that pop culture obsession.
I feel like that the next Gears, when it inevitably comes out, Gear 6, Halo Infinite, and then Hellblade 2 and then Perfect Dark are their best bets right now to get where they need to go. But they need to have some other studios hit the mark as well. Because I loved Gears 5. It was that one tied with Gears 2 for my favorite in the series.
Gears 5 was great. Like Gears 5 was objectively and critically an amazing, well-received game.
And I loved Gears Tactics too. Of course, I like XCOM a lot, and so it's kind of niche, but I really enjoyed Gears Tactics, and I thought the story added a lot of depth and some background to some important events. So I feel like they're going in the right direction. Definitely, they're not where they want to be yet, and they haven't gotten there, but I feel like it's clearly every year they're taking a step where they need to go.
Exactly. They understand. They looked at Sony. What a lot of people need to realize is, some Xbox fans will like kind of poop on Sony games or poop on the way that Sony does their studios, but the reality is Xbox is looking at what Sony is doing, and they are modeling their current growth around that. They've seen the success that Sony has had by investing in these studios and buying studios. That's why we've seen Xbox invest in these studios and buy studios and expand teams, is 'cause they see the potential of having in-house studios that can deliver really great games. So that's where they want to be. Again, like you said, they're not quite there yet. I want to see the future where they are there. I don't think 2021 will honestly be that. I'm hoping Halo Infinite is the start of that. I'm hoping that Halo Infinite is the kickoff of, wow, Xbox and Game Pass specifically has these monumental games that just dominate the conversation. I want Halo Infinite to come out, and I want everyone to play it. whether it's on your PC, your phone, your Xbox, whatever. I want it to be one of those games that people cannot ignore, and that has potential to be that, but they really need to deliver. Like that has to be the kickoff of, hey, this is what the future of Xbox is going to. I know, critically and just commercially, a lot of the stuff in the last 2 years it's been a step in the right direction, but you can't lean on Forza and Gears to carry your company for a decade.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely am not in the camp where it's like, well, they need to put this stuff on ice. I'm like, there's a reason why they keep putting these out. They're awesome, and people love them. Forza, Gear, Halo, Trilogy, or the Trinity. Yeah. You keep them going. You add different ones, obviously, but they're your pillars for a reason. You don't just put them on ice because, oh, well, they need something different. I'm like, you do something different too. So that's why they've acquired these studios, and honestly, I still think they need to get some more. I'm not being greedy. It might sound that way, but I still think they're missing a few things.
Yeah, like let's do the Netflix thing, like because that's their goal. They want to put out one first party game of some kind every month. That's the cadence that's going to take them a little while to get to that point, but that's the cadence that they want.
Absolutely, and like you heard Phil's comments about need some more family friendly and E-rated kind of IPs and stuff, which kind of made the Banjo fan in me cringe a little bit. Like, really, Phil? Really, you got this one sitting here, and then, but
yeah, maybe one day we'll see a new Banjo. But I mean, we got a new Perfect Dark, so I hope Xbox is looking at their backlog of IP that people love, and they're saying, all right, we have teams now. Who's going to be the team that's going to take this and reimagine it for what Xbox is moving forward? I think we're over the days of kind of like the Crackdown 3s, where it's it's a sequel, it's a franchise that people love, but they're just putting it out. Like they're finding whoever's available.
Yeah,
Xbox is going to become a lot more selective with who and why these IPs get sequels and come back, because they have the stable of talent to be like, all right, are you the right fit? Is this team the right fit to do this?
I know they're a tiny studio, but I think Delilah would be a good pickup if they were interested. Because Battletoads, I really enjoyed it. I thought they did a great job. I mean, there was too many mini games in that one act, but
yeah, outside of Act 3, I really like Battletoads.
Like, I feel like they'd be a good fit, or like maybe a Playful or something like that to do these kind of E-rated family games. And then you and me have been on the Bloober hype train forever, so I still think they make perfect sense and should be added.
Let's get the Bloober team in the mix. Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm almost wondering if the medium is like a test. And I mean, not like if you don't sell well, we're not going to pick you up. But I wonder if it's, a way for Xbox to look at this team and say, is this something that, we can make work and fit? And is this something that's going to either get attention to Game Pass, get installs, or get people talking about Xbox? Because again, another narrative that I see pushed around is that Xbox is just buying anyone and everyone that they can. And that's not the case at all. Xbox needs proven studios, and they want proven teams. They're not just picking up anyone and everyone that they can. And that's why we haven't seen Xbox just go insane and start buying up everyone, because they could. They have the money to do that. But it needs to make sense. It needs to make sense for Xbox Game Studios. It needs to make sense for Game Pass. It needs to make sense for shifting this idea that Xbox doesn't have quality games.
Definitely. I mean, I'm not slandering them at all, but that's kind of what THQ Nordic is doing. They're just like, they acquire so many, they buy in bulk. Like they
buy
go to
IP like crazy, dude. It's hilarious.
They're the Frankenstein studio, which I love, frankly, because heck yeah, we're getting Kingdoms of Amalur again. Awesome. And a DLC, maybe a sequel. Count me in. And then Time Splitters.
Yeah, awesome. Let's go. Like a lot of those franchises are cool and have weight, so it's cool to see them come back in some way.
But yeah, like they also buy a bunch of studios I had frankly never heard of. I mean, I of course don't know all the studios, but they've acquired a lot just because they're like, well, they're available. Why not?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, literally, like we have some money to spend and it's available, so let's go. Sergeant Rake has a point that I want to have us touch on a little bit here, or I guess not a point, but an opinion. He says that IGN is an undercover PS fanboy, and so was Jeff Keighley. What's your take on that? Well, let's focus on Jeff Keighley. Is Jeff Keighley just a PS fanboy in your eyes?
I don't think he's a fanboy. I do think his interests and passion for that particular brand is evident.
Yeah,
And I don't think he hides that at all, nor should he. I mean, it's his show. He can do whatever he wants. But
yeah. Like I'm not. I wouldn't want someone to tell me like, "Oh, you like Xbox too much. You're an Xbox fanboy."
I mean, I see lots of videos and reaction things. It's like, oh, look, they showed an Xbox thing, and then he's not smiling perfectly right after it happens. But then the PlayStation one comes on, and then he's like euphoric. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much weight to put into that kind of stuff. I think they just catch him at a weird angle or something.
Yeah,
Sometimes
like you can see that a lot. Sometimes he has to keep things moving. They're on a tight timeline, so sometimes they show the trailer and he's just moving on to the next thing. It's not just an Xbox thing. I know I've seen people point that out as well. Like he's not super stoked after an Xbox review. He's not super stoked after like 90% of the real reveals because he's just got to move on to the next thing. Got a show to run here. But I don't think he's a PlayStation fanboy. I think he loves the video game industry and he loves video games as a medium. And I think, I mean, as we talked about, he understands right now who has the better games.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone has their opinion, but objectively and commercially and blah, everything that matters to the widespread success of the games industry, PlayStation is leading in. Again, I love Xbox. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying here, but the reality is there's a reason people like PlayStation more than Xbox right now. There's a good reason. There's lots of good reasons. Nobody is buying an Xbox Series X for one specific game. They can't. There's no game right now that's worth buying just an Xbox Series X for. But I'm literally trying to buy a PS5 for Demon's Souls. Just to put that into context. I bought the Xbox Series X because of the back catalog and the performance and what the future is going to hold. But there's no system sellers with the Series X. The reality of it. But I'm literally trying to buy a PS5 for a single game. Xbox needs to get in a position where they can do that.
I feel like Halo Infinite had it launched as planned and had been as good as it could have been. Like, if 2020 had been a normal year, I think it would have been a system seller.
I think so too. Would have been a huge deal. Would have been a huge boost to Game Pass. Game Pass would have absolutely exploded when people realized that, oh, I can play Halo Infinite anywhere for like $15. Sick. Sign me up. I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah, it just. And then as far as IGN, I don't know that they have different personalities who have different views on things. So I guess it's. Yeah, you're going to have some guys who like one more than the other, probably. Because once you get a big conglomerate like that, you have folks from all kinds of different backgrounds and walks of life who like different things. Maybe those are just the tweets you're seeing the most, but they have people from all kinds of backgrounds.
Exactly. Yeah. Hazador, what's up, dude? Thanks for hanging out. And then Elrond and Lethal Migraine. Again, to what I said earlier, I'm not saying I necessarily think that the games that PlayStation putting out are better. I'm just saying a lot of the areas that Microsoft has been getting wins in terms of Metacritic, your point specifically, if you want to talk about Metacritic, have been more niche categories. They've been sports or they've been indie, which, again, I'm not trying to diminish the value of those, but I'm just saying from a widespread casual audience, on paper, PlayStation has quote unquote better games. Again, I'm not saying that I think the PlayStation games are better. Like I talked about earlier, I wasn't the biggest fan of The Last of Us. I really don't like Uncharted. I think that series is super overrated. But I'm just saying, from an industry standpoint, there is a reason that so many people are so hardcore into PlayStation. Again, I love Xbox. I prefer Xbox. I literally bought a PS4 for Bloodborne. I played probably 10 PlayStation 4 exclusive total over the course of the PS4's lifetime. But I'm just saying, there is a reason PlayStation is quote unquote dominating.
Yeah, they dominate the market share and the mind share as well. Because like most of the discourse I see from people that aren't just, Xbox focused is PlayStation generally.
Hmm.
But um, I love all of them. I have all three of them. I grew up with N64 was my first. I've been with Nintendo since then. Love Mario, Zelda, all that, and then Pokemon and
Hmm.
PlayStation has killer exclusives, and that's literally all I play it for. Like third party and exclusives are all on Xbox, and then the PlayStation exclusives, I have PlayStation just to play those, and that's it. It's just I prefer the Xbox brand. I prefer the family feel of it. I prefer the community. I feel more a part of the community, and I like the culture overall of Xbox. It feels like, of course, there's good eggs and bad eggs in all the communities.
And some people take it a little too extreme, and
I'm not painting with a broad brush here. I'm just I feel like I fit more with the vibe of the Xbox culture.
exactly.
So
Like yeah, because I've been, into all the big three over the course of my lifetime. I always get all three consoles. So I don't ignore any specific platform. And you can't ignore any specific platform if you're trying to look at the industry as a whole and like what people are doing. You have to recognize successes. When it comes to services, when it comes to an ecosystem, when it comes to consumer friendly practices, Xbox is absolutely killing it. They are leading. When it comes to major system sellers, like big AAA games that people are talking about on Twitter constantly, that are dominating social media, that are getting covered by mainstream news outlets, PlayStation and Nintendo have the advantage there. Blondie but Geeky, what's up? Thanks for hanging. So let me catch up on some of these, and then to your point again on Metacritic. You don't Metacritic is just more of a casual, general thing. People who look at that, but that's the reality. People look at that for in terms of are they going to buy it. Um, I don't really care. I liked Crackdown 3. I thought Crackdown 3 was a ton of fun. I also agree that it's a 6 out of 10. So I don't know.
Absolutely agree. One of my favorite games was Alpha Protocol, and that was an abomination critically. So,
you can
so
you can like bad games. It's okay. That's something that everyone needs to take a breath and accept that you can like a game that's not good. We all like bad music. We all like bad movies. So it's okay to like bad games. It's you're not going to lose any street cred on the internet if you say Crackdown 3 is a good game or you had fun with Crackdown 3.
I mean, at the end of the day, a game is meant to be fun. If you're finding it fun, then it's a good game for you.
Exactly. And that's what's most important. Are you having fun with your video game? Right. Yeah, and then Spittle brings up an interesting point that the Switch quietly outsells both Microsoft and Sony recently, which is insane. Like, yeah, the Switch is still just crushing it. Switch is the most underpowered system on the market right now. PlayStation 5 or PlayStation and Xbox both launched two new SKUs, new console SKUs, next gen console SKUs, and somehow the Switch still outsold them. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
And Nintendo has very quietly had a very minor first party year this year with releases. Their biggest things have been porting the Mario games and then the Fire Emblem game finally coming to America and a few other minor releases like that, yet they're still making bank because they just have this huge library and accessibility. It's like the Game Boy Advance on steroids. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Switch being able to. I don't play it on my TV too much, except for Breath of the Wild or whatever. But on the go, it's just incredible.
It's a great system and it's got great games. And that's the big thing. Like the games are what really sell that. You have people who are buying the Switch for a game. When Animal Crossing came out, a bunch of people bought a Switch. Pokemon came out, a bunch of people bought a Switch. And again, like I don't want to harp on this because Xbox isn't in a bad way, but Xbox needs to get to a point where they have those games where when it comes out, people are buying a console for it. And that used to be Halo. Xbox 360 had a ton of games that people were buying a console for. People were buying an Xbox 360 single game. So from like a general market share and a general mind share, 360 was killing that, was doing really well. The Xbox One they lost that. They lost a lot of that momentum, fortunately.
Yeah, I feel like that this might just be my guess, but I feel like Hellblade might be their best chance to win over kind of PlayStation faithful types.
Yeah,
Because
it's funny
it,
because it was a PlayStation exclusive.
it feels like Xbox's best God of War type title.
Their
Like,
answer to those.
not saying that's exactly what they're going for, but I feel like Hellblade was incredible. It was one of my most impactful favorite games of the generation. But you could tell that they had kind of a smaller studio, smaller budget. But with Xbox's fully armed and operational battle station that they can do stuff with, I truly think they can make God of War Game of the Year type title with Hellblade 2. And I feel like that title can win over some of the more third party or third person focused narrative fans. And that's honestly like single player and story focus are my big thing. I like multiplayer games too, and I love Halo. Like Halo's one of my favorite franchises ever, but those are the main games that draw me. I'm already in the Xbox systems ecosystem, so they don't have to worry about me. But like for others that are focused mainly on story and stuff like that, I think Hellblade is a huge bet.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that absolutely delivers. Kind of shifts this idea that Xbox can deliver these big budget, like single player experiences. Again, to your point, that's not necessarily where I tend to gravitate for gaming, but
Mm-hmm.
I just want that to deliver, so I don't have to hear talk about it.
And Perfect Dark can, I bet, absolutely deliver that too. I mean, you remember the original ones had awesome single player story and amazing, spiritual successor to GoldenEye multiplayer. So I think
Let's
Perfect
go.
Dark is going to be
Oh,
incredible.
yeah, and then Lethal Migraine was mentioning, I would never buy a system for one game. That's
Mm-hmm.
cool and that's respectable. That's fine. That's a good mentality to have. But a lot of people who don't play a lot of video games do and will. That's how you broaden your kind of market share and your audience. Console gaming is a bit more niche. It's just kind of the reality of it. If you're not catering and trying to expand that, you're not going to really grow. Um, and then the Switch, also to that point, Switch has, in my opinion, 3 or 4 games that would be considered game of the generation. So
Mm-hmm.
the Switch it's not about one game at all. The Switch has Breath of the Wild, it has Animal Crossing New Horizon, it's got Mario Odyssey, which is the best 3D platformer that's ever been made.
And then Smash Brothers, which is
Smash Bros.
constantly
Ultimate,
adding
which is
characters.
the
Oh my
best
god.
fighting game that's ever been made. Yeah, I don't know. The Switch kills it. There's a reason people love Nintendo. I see a lot of Xbox fans in particular say this for babies or Nintendo doesn't have any good games, and I don't know where that comes from. I don't know where this idea that if you are a hardcore Xbox fan you can't like Nintendo. I don't know where exactly that stems from, but
Yeah, that's a disturbing subset of the community I've noticed as well. Like,
Nintendo sucks. I'm like,
and
stop.
like
Objectively,
Xbox
you're wrong.
needs to get rid of their kitty games. I'm like, Phil just flat out just came out and said we need more kitty games. So obviously they don't feel the same way, but it's like Grounded is incredible. I love that, and
Yeah,
that
granted, my wife who does not really play games at all. I mean, I guess she plays games very casually. She was all in on Grounded. She loved it. Like she was grinding that harder than I was, and I was like, damn, okay. So I ended up playing, like, getting further in that game than I've ever gotten before with her than I did with my core group of friends who we play games together all the time.
absolutely. And then like, if they ever wanted to bring back a Viva Pinata type or something like that to be their Animal Crossing, that's what's beautiful about Game Pass is that there's so much diversity. There's something for everybody or every mood you're in. Like if I want a horror game, I can put on a Medium, or if I want to play a shooter, I can play Halo, or if I want a puzzle game, put on Tetris Effect. I mean, there's so many different options, and diversity is key.
Exactly. That's a good point. Then we got some. Hazador says my buddy Rand says otherwise in regards to the Nintendo thing.
I know
I'm
Pokemon's the
I'm
goat.
getting Rand on this show, and I'm gonna just grill his ass into oblivion about his hate for Nintendo. Um, because I always give him shit on the streams and on Twitter, and but I'm gonna get him in the hot seat with me, and we're gonna talk about his his thoughts on Nintendo, his idea that Nintendo is useless, not pushing anything. Because I can bet him money, thousands of dollars, that his favorite games, the games that he loves the most, have been inspired by Nintendo games. And if he was to talk to the people who made his favorite games of all time, they would talk about how good Nintendo is and how inspiring Nintendo games have been to them as I would bet thousands of dollars that that's the case.
Absolutely, and you can see there's a clear affinity for Nintendo, even in Xbox leadership and everything, with allowing Banjo on Smash. Maybe even rumors of Rare Replay. I don't know how true that is, but that would be interesting on Switch. And
Yeah.
then they have a clear affinity and respect because you got to remember where you came from in the gaming industry. Nintendo was here before both of them, and
Nintendo paved the way. Nintendo created a lot of genres. I don't think people really understand that, or unwilling to, or they think that they can just ignore what Nintendo has done but still like what Xbox is.
like
You can,
those
just kind of a weird, I guess, ignorant way to be. I'm keeping it PC.
Yeah, like the whole Metroidvania thing. That came from Metroid and Castlevania, right? So, stuff like that.
But yeah, I'm glad we went on this little tangent. Yeah, I was actually messaging Rand a couple days ago, and we're getting him on the books. But that's going to be something that we talk about, something we're going to hash out, because Rand's hate for Nintendo is unfounded and comes from a bad place, I think.
Yes, get Dr. Phil session on.
Exactly, Rand. Where does this come from? What did Nintendo hurt you? I want to show me on the doll where Nintendo hurt you.
Someone deleted his level 80 starter Pokemon, and that he just hates them ever since.
If you legit hate Pokemon and Super Smash Bros. And Mario and Zelda, if you legit hate all those, I don't know. I question whether or not you like video games at all. You don't have to love them. They don't have to be your favorite games of all time. But when I talk to someone who says they hate all of those, where does that come from? What's going on in the brain? I guess Lethal Migraine is here. He's kind of the anti-Nintendo guy. Where does that come from? Where do you get this idea that Mario's bad or Zelda's bad? Can you objectively tell me why you feel that way? I want to know that. Hot seat. Lethal Migraine's in the hot seat now. Where does that come from? Who hurt you?
Oh my gosh. So, who do you think are the big Xbox mascots going forward? I know back in the 90s, their mascot characters were king. You had Crash Bandicoot and Spyro and stuff like that. So for Xbox going forward, do you think they're adding any more? Or do you think it's just going to be Master Chief and Kate? Or do you think Joanna can now be? And I think that's important too, because branding is key. And you have to have people you clearly associate with it. It's hard to associate car like Forza. There's a new cover car every year. It's oh, car in Xbox. Kate Diaz or Marcus Phoenix, I get that. Or Kratos with PlayStation, I get that. Link with Nintendo, I get that. So I think more clearly identifiable characters are a big part of what they need as well.
Yeah, the mascots, again, that was definitely more of a 90s and 2000s thing, but you need characters that you see and you go, okay, that's Xbox. Obviously PlayStation has your Nathan Drakes and your Kratos and all the characters. I think right now obviously Chief is the biggest one. Chief is the face of Xbox as it stands. But I would love to see them expand. I want to see Senua become a face, an instantly recognizable face for Xbox. I know in some sections she is already, but I want to see that. Obviously, Joanna Dark, that'll be great. But they don't really have a lot of bright, colorful characters, I guess, because we don't really have Banjo anymore. You got maybe the weird guy from Psychonauts. That's again, as much as I love that game, it's a little niche.
Mm-hmm. I mean, whatever Everwild ends up being, if we can even figure it out, maybe that'll be a thing.
Yeah, Everwild. I mean, I think Sea of Thieves has gotten to a point now where it's got a lot of positive momentum for Xbox, because once that hit PC, a lot of the narrative that, it's an Xbox game kind of like faded into the background, and people are like, "Oh, this is a good game." Now you have this huge thriving community of people playing on Xbox and PC. So I think Xbox has a lot of great momentum going into this next generation, and I think more and more people are willing to be a little more open to Xbox games as opposed to the previous releases where they would just write it off completely because it was an Xbox. Like Gears 5 in particular. Gears 5 got a lot of great reviews. Like, it reviewed really well. But because it was an Xbox game, there was a contingent of people who said,
Yeah, that drives just a person who likes games in general crazy. I mean,
Yeah,
like a game because it's a good game,
not because of the platform. Again, I always have this conversation. I always come back to it, but we shouldn't. If you really love video games and the industry, you should not be writing off any platform. I understand if you're not a moneybags who can buy every single platform all the time and buy every game, but don't use that as a way to write off a platform. I see that a lot too. Like, I can't buy this, so it's garbage, or I'm not going to buy this, so that's objectively not true. Super chat hype. Mr. Joanna Dark, the legend, coming in with, "We need Double Fine to reimagine Banjo and Conquer. Also get Blinks the cat back as well." Yes, 1,000 times yes. Give Tim Schafer the reins for Banjo and let him go wild. Let Tim Schafer get weird and wild with Banjo.
That's actually been my perfect studio, and in my head, who I would want to do it is,
yes,
if anybody can handle Conquer, if this world will even allow us to have a Conquer in the kind of climate we live in, I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, I don't see Conquer coming back just because of what it is and where we are now. But I mean, Duke Nukem came back and everyone loved that, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Duke Nukem forever. But I don't know. I think if anybody can handle Banjo, it's Tim and his team, and then Viva Pinata they could probably do wild stuff with as well. Or
yeah, Viva Pinata I love. Viva Pinata is a great frame. That would be a fun one to see come back. They could really expand upon the ideas that they had.
Honestly, if Xbox really wanted to, they could just buy a support studio with the sole purpose of cranking old rare IPs out. I mean, they have so many, they literally could just do that.
So Lethal Migraine has answered my questions here regarding Nintendo, why he doesn't like it. He says, "Never liked Zelda. Don't see the point. Original Mario on NES was fine. I don't like platformers, though. I've never touched Pokemon, and I'm okay with that. I don't enjoy Metroidvanias either."
Okay.
I mean, yeah, you're entitled to your opinion, but hit me with some of your favorite franchises of all time. I'll probably be able to tell you exactly how and why they were inspired by a Nintendo IP. Let's play a fun little game here. And then he says, "How about quit letting nostalgia be your guide and demand?" Yeah, we should be doing the same for Xbox, which is what a lot of fans are doing. We are demanding better. We are seeing what else is out there in terms of Nintendo and PlayStation. We are demanding better games. So again, I prefer Xbox. I understand what Xbox is doing well. I also am well aware of what Xbox is not doing.
Yeah, under Phil's leadership, Xbox has made exponential gains and have been doing so much better. But there are still some things they still haven't hit 100%.
They're in a really good position, and they've made a lot of really great changes that are going to set them up for long term. And it's the reality is those things just take years and years. Like, it wasn't until about 2017 that they started making these shifts. And these big, when you're a company like Xbox and Microsoft, you're moving a big old boat. So that boat is going to take years and years to turn. So like I said, I'm hoping that Halo Infinite is the kickoff of what Xbox Game Studios, what the new Xbox is. And that's like the big, hey, this is what we are about. This is what we're going to be doing going forward. Hoping that's the big moment.
For sure. And I think one of the biggest things is if Xbox is 100% committed to Asia and Japan in particular, they have to do better over there. Like if they want to not abandon ship over there, they've got to increase their influence there, and that means more Japanese exclusive games either through secondary partnerships or acquiring like a Japanese publisher or studio or two,
Mm-hmm.
because they're next to non-existent till now. They were like 1% or something like that, if I remember reading that correctly. Like it very small compared to Sony and Nintendo
Yeah,
in Japan.
it's pretty sad. It's sad state of affairs. Which is it's a bummer because if you look at the OG Xbox library, Xbox went pretty hard in regards to trying to win ground in Japan. I think that's maybe one of the reasons that they just kind of have stopped on the 360 and Xbox One and are trying to shift back because the OG Xbox had a ton of Japanese developed exclusives. You had Otage, you had Phantom Dust, you had Shenmue, you had, I guess Fantasy Star Online wasn't, but you had a lot of Japanese developed exclusives or a lot of Japanese developed like bigger titles on Xbox. That did not really win them any ground in Japan, which was kind of sad.
Yeah, it was affectionately known as the Dreamcast too. It had so many awesome Sega titles in
Yeah, yeah,
particular.
Sega in particular, there was a ton.
And just I don't know. I feel like that's one of their big missing links, because there are some people who just like JRPGs or that type of genre, and that one's kind of a glaring omission from their library for the most part. I mean, obviously, Sony and Nintendo will always dominate Japanese games and markets, and they have a whole bunch of games that don't even come to America on their consoles. But if Xbox can at least put a dent in that, that would significantly help them.
Yeah, that'd be a huge boon. Sergeant Rake brings up an interesting point about Rare and their interest for making Banjo, saying that basically Rare isn't interested in making, and I think that's a good point. I think
Mm-hmm.
Rare right now, as we've seen with Sea of Thieves, and as we're going to see with Everwild, they want to experiment. They want to experiment not only with new IP, but they want to experiment with new fundamental design approaches for making a game. Sea of Thieves, you don't have to necessarily like it. Some people love it, some people hate it. Um, Whether you like it or not, it was a completely unique experience, unlike anything else at that point. I think that's what they're trying to create again with Everwild. So to revisit something like Banjo for them probably isn't that interesting right now. But as we saw with Battletoads, Rare is open to letting other people take the reins on their IP. I'm hoping that's what happens with Banjo, just so many Banjo fans who just want a new Banjo, and it's been so long since we've gotten one.
I completely agree. And then obviously, Perfect Dark is now the most high profile. Like, um, taking one of the most beloved IP in your history and letting a brand new studio do it is that's a big trust and show of faith in that
Mm-hmm.
studio to do it. I mean, obviously, you look at the initiative's talent is off the charts and otherworldly. The all-star team they've created over
They've
there.
been just swooping up everyone there. It's funny.
It's
Anytime
basically
like a major person leaves a company, it's like 3 weeks later you find out they're at the initiative. Like, oh, okay, that's where they were.
I it's they are Xboxes. We talk about the quality of the PlayStation games, and we don't want to beat that to death, obviously. But you talk about that, and you always think Naughty Dog and those Santa Monica and stuff like that. This is Xbox going all in, saying, "All right, this is what Sony does. We'll do our own version of that." And that is what the initiative is. They're taking the Perfect Dark and trying to make it their version of a Uncharted mixed with Tomb Raider mixed with Splinter Cell type AAA huge set pieces. Like that's what they're going for. That they're going all in on that one.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how that lands because that is one of those games that we've seen a lot of the really kind of weird buzzwords like quadruple A studio, and I don't know. I hope that game lands really well and really crushes it. Um, but yeah, it's it's an older IP. People aren't probably that familiar with it. Um, it was honestly kind of more of a niche thing compared to GoldenEye on 64 as it was,
Hmm.
and Perfect Dark Zero kind of landed with a big old thud. So
Yeah.
there hasn't been a lot of momentum for Perfect Dark, so I'm hoping that they can show something that people look at and go, okay, I need to play that. Because I'm imagining they're catering to not only the Perfect Dark audience, but they're catering to the audience of Splinter Cell fans who've been just dying for a reboot of some.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not Joanna as a skin in a mobile game, then I'll probably be
Well, she's
happy with
already
it.
off to a way better start than poor Sam Fisher. So
Oh
rip.
man,
It's just
R.I.P. man.
it makes me laugh because again, I'm not the biggest Splinter Cell fan. So every time I see that, I just laugh a little inside. Feel bad for the fans who are dying a little inside.
I do find it curious how secretive they are about that studio. Like they won't like put numbers about how many people are there. Or, yeah, I mean, obviously that doesn't have to be out there, but it's like a lot of studios like, oh yeah, we got like 200 plus, or we got 85 or whatever. It's like initiative is like question mark. It's like
Question mark.
it's like all shrouded in secrecy. It's like, what does the logo mean? It's like, well, we can't really talk about it. It just means innovative. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh,
You
okay.
mean it doesn't resemble Datadon at all? And they're like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like,
Yeah, well,
so
that's funny. We touched on that a while back too, and I don't know. But there was like that rumor that they might like rebrand their name, but it seems like they're just rolling with the initiative. I mean, they've
mhm.
officially announced their title, the title of their first project. So at this point, I don't see them changing.
And it
But
makes sense to me. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying it makes sense the initiative as their name because they have an initiative to make a killer game. Like Xbox has tasked you with a mission, go out and do it. So
Yes,
it's the initiative.
the they are the first like ground up team that Xbox has built, basically under the new Xbox game. They are basically this is trying to be their Naughty Dog. I mean, granted, they bought Naughty Dog. Whatever, Sony bought Naughty Dog, and I know a lot of PlayStation fans try to complain about Xbox just buying studios. Ironically, PlayStation did the same thing with a lot of their biggest studios, but this is going to be the first studio that Xbox is just creating from the ground up under this new next generation Xbox Game Studio banner. So I think the initiative ties into, like you said, their objective to show people what the new face of Xbox Game Studios is.
For sure. And I mean, there are definitely different ways. I know Jim Ryan kind of had a salty comment the other day, kind of about it. But there are different ways to do studios. You can build them up, or you can buy them, and or you can do both. And they both companies have done that.
Yeah,
I mean,
both
like you said,
Sony's
Naughty
done both.
Dog, Insomniac, which is heavy lifting for Sony right now. They just bought. So,
Yeah, Sony did not
um,
build Insomniac at all. They just bought them. So
I mean, it'll be interesting. And then, what do you make of the whole "oh, we don't support cross gen"? Just kidding, we do, kind of thing.
they realized how much money they would lose out if they didn't release cross-gen games because the install base of the PS4 is insane, and realistically only a couple million people have access to a PS5 right now. So yeah, they I think they realized real quick that that was just silly, and they would just be hurting financially, and they would have to just basically eat a year of sales to deliver on that quote unquote next gen dream. Dang, Mr. Joanna Dark with another super chat? Dang. Okay, let's see here. Let's get some dabs in the chat for Mr. Joanna Dark.
Dabs, yes,
People overlook the diversity within the Xbox portfolio, which
hundred
Xbox is
percent.
building, which covers all genres. I love Sony games as well, but I feel they have turned into Ubisoft type. Thought. I'll let you go first. What are your thoughts on Sony games, I guess, being compared to Ubisoft, the Ubisoft form?
I'm not sure I would 100% compare them to Ubisoft. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. Like I do agree that they both have a clearly established formula that they're running with. They're different formulas, but they both have one that they're clearly going with, though. Like, Ubisoft is open world. I'm going to crank hundreds of hours in this, and you are going to do fetch quests till you can't think anymore. That's what Ubisoft has become with Assassin's Creed and all that. But then, Sony, most of theirs are third person narrative, about 10 to 25, 30 hour single player game. Strong emotional ties, bonds. They have a clear archetype they're going with. So I do agree that I think that's Xbox's biggest strength is their diversity.
Mhm.
You want a racer? We got a racer. You want a shooter? Well, we got tons of those. And then and now we're addressing the third person, strong, emotional character lead development, just heavy on themes type games. So I agree. I think that is where Xbox's biggest strength is, and they really, really need to highlight and focus on that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think Xbox has done a good job delivering on the diversity, and I think they're going to continue expanding on that diversity and delivering bigger budget games that still fit that kind of diverse caliber. But yeah, to your point regarding Sony Studios being compared to Ubisoft, I get that critique. I kind of feel the same way. A lot of their games are, I compare them to like big budget movies, like big budget blockbuster movies. You sort of know what the formula is going to be because there is a formula, unfortunately, that it has been commercially proven to deliver results. There's a formula in Hollywood that says like, if we have X action, X romance, X this, we are gonna make a movie that sells a bunch and makes us a bunch of money, and people are gonna like it. And Sony has kind of figured out what their formula is for that similar style of big budget blockbuster games, and so they're taking those kind of core principles and applying them to different genres and different universes. I don't really think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima, in my opinion, is drastically different than, say, The Last of Us 2, and Spider-Man Miles Morales is drastically different than God of War. So I get where people are coming from there. If you're comparing Naughty Dog stuff, I think that's where people get lost. Is they're taking Naughty Dog as the prime example of games that are similar, and Naughty Dog does make the same game in a different unit constantly. Um, but I don't know. I wouldn't say that the PlayStation portfolio isn't diverse. Xbox has been doing a better job of delivering consistently diverse games. I think it's just that Sony is releasing less big budget first party games in general, so it seems like they're more similar. But I don't know. Like I said, I just think of it like a big budget Hollywood movie. Like they know it works. They have found a formula that works, and if it works, like why would you change that? And
And
Xbox is still trying to find their formula.
I agree.
And thanks for all the love about the show, guys. Sergeant Rake, Mr. Joanna Dark, talking about how much they love the show. Appreciate you guys hanging out every Saturday. Well, not every Saturday that I'm here, but means a lot. Show's been having a lot of fun with it. And then get to talk to awesome people like Logan, get him in the mix. So it's been a really cool show, and I'm excited to see it keep growing.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun. I always enjoy talking with you, and talking games is fun. So
Absolutely, I know you and I always have a good time. So for the last kind of 15 minutes or so ish here, just gonna kind of open it up to any questions you guys have. So if you have any burning questions about Cyberpunk, Game Awards, anything like that, drop them in the chat. And then in the meantime, Logan, let's do our own Game Awards for 2020.
oh boy.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here. I didn't give this to you ahead of time, but if you had to pick a game of the year 2020, what would the Logan Meyer game of the year 2020 be?
That's really tough. Ori was absolutely incredible. That one is definitely up there. Um, Going on Game Awards rules, I've actually would have had Fallen Order probably as my game of the year.
Is that
But
but
But I mean, to me, it came out last year, so it should have been a 2019 game of the year. So, but if you want to play by the rules of them, I would have gone Fallen Order for game of the year personally.
Jedi Fallen Order, Game of the Year. You heard it here. Logan Myers, 2020 Game of the Year.
I I know 2020 is stacked, but it just they proved finally they could make an awesome Star Wars game again. It was my favorite one since Coder 2, Republic Commando. Just some of my favorite games of all time. Of course, I'm a diehard Star Wars guy, but it took the Sekiro formula and mixed it with Jedi
Mm-hmm.
and all the Star Wars lore and everything, and it's just like, Sekiro was Game of the Year, was incredible, and Fallen Orders like that was Star Wars paint, and it's just I I loved it personally.
Beautiful. Super chat hype again. Mr. Joanna Dark, absolutely crushing it right now. Just killing it with the support. Love the show. Glad I found this channel. Want to do my best to show my appreciation and make my weekend work go by fast. Well, I appreciate that. Again, it's awesome being able to hang out and chat with people every Saturday. It's not just only the guests, but the people watching, and that's kind of like a big component of what I've been trying to have as part of the show. So thank you. That means a lot. My 2020 Game of the Year award. This one goes out to my boy Lethal Migraine. Animal Crossing: New Horizons.
It's hard to argue with that.
Got absolutely robbed. Society would have literally collapsed if that game didn't come out. Like, that game came out right at the height of lockdown, pandemic craziness. That was the ultimate escape. Not only was it just a fundamentally great game with a ton of content and just stuff to do constantly, but this year in particular, it was the ultimate escape. That game just did something that, again, no other game could really do this year. Again, my wife, who had never played an Animal Crossing game, doesn't play a lot of games. She put in like 140 hours crossing. I put in 120 hours. I had friends who put in 200 hours in like a matter of a couple months. That game, in my opinion, absolutely deserves game.
It was incredible. I put like an obscene amount of hours in that game as well. It's so much fishing and bug catching and just village managing. It's incredible. And I've met so many people who don't normally play games that tried it, and then it becomes like a gateway game.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
to more games.
And that's the importance of it. Like that, it is. It's definitely a gateway game, and like since then, my wife is like that opened her up to playing a lot more games. So this year in particular, she's been open to playing a lot more games, and I think that's a lot in part Animal Crossing. Oh, all right, let's go with one more. We'll do one more category for us. Maybe we'll do two more. I'll see how I feel. What is I think of a way to do it. I mean, your game of the year was like kind of an action adventure. I was gonna say, what was the best action game that you played this year?
That's tough. Let's see. I don't. I guess Fallen Order.
And back-to-back W's for Jedi Fallen Order from Logan Meyer.
I mean, there's been so many, but that one just it really stuck with me. So I'll stand by it as well.
Cool. And I'll pose a quick question for Lethal Migraine. Did you like Jedi Fallen Order? And then if I had to pick, because my two games of the year, damn, I had three. I'll just give you my three game of the year. Probably if I had to pick best action game, I'd give it to Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Like that is, in terms of like game design, art direction, music, just an absolute masterpiece. The Metroidvania, but it really kind of evolved the formula in a lot of really exciting ways. It was one of the first Metroidvanias I played that had really epic production value to some of the like set pieces and scenes and interactions with characters. So it felt like the first kind of bigger budget Metroidvania, even though it was a small team. Amazing combat, amazing platform, and the soundtrack is one of the best, probably the best. I would say that soundtrack is the best this
It was an incredible soundtrack, and it was like Studio Ghibli the game. It was incredible.
year. Oh, just absolutely. I see a lot of people in the chat talking about Doom Eternal, which absolutely crushes. Also has a dope soundtrack.
Oh.
Every time that riff pops in, you're just ready to destroy demons.
uh
I had a blast. I this is gonna be a controversial opinion, but I got bored with Doom Eternal. The levels were too big, in my opinion. I played it for probably like 10 or 12 hours and shut it. It was the same complaints I had about Doom 2016. The levels were just too big. I didn't want to play a level for 45 minutes before moving on to the next one every time. So I don't know. That was just me. Minor gripe. Gameplay itself was still really fun.
Absolutely, they crushed it with that. And id Software being part of Xbox Game Studios should have everybody super stoked. Maybe we'll get a new Quake finally, or something like that. That'd be awesome as well.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I was really confused when we saw what there was like the Unreal Tournament tie-in with Warframe at the Game
Yeah.
Awards, which I was really confused because like I had completely forgotten about Unreal Tournament, the game. Every time the gun popped on the screen and it had the Unreal logo next to it, I'm like, why is the Unreal Engine logo next to these guns? Like, what is that? Like,
Brought to you by. Yeah.
I was just like, and then I was like, oh yeah, Unreal Tournament was a game franchise that existed.
And your other award category?
Oh yes, our final award category is um. All right, what was the best remake or remaster of 20?
Resident Evil 2.
That was last year.
Oh gosh dang it.
3 was this year. 3
This
was the
year, oh sorry. Resident Evil 3 then. I haven't
okay.
played FF7 yet.
Okay,
Um,
that's yeah. I also haven't played FF7.
that's my that's my clarifier. I haven't played it yet. It's probably incredible, and I'm sure if I played it, I'd probably pick it. But for me personally, it would be Resident Evil 3. 2020 has been such a. I get the years mixed up now, but
Just all it's all blurring together, man.
yeah, but
Yeah,
um,
Resident Evil 3, incredible, great game. I actually ended up really liking that weird multiplayer mode they put out, Resistance.
yeah,
Me and a couple friends grinded that pretty hard. Surprised by that. Really unbalanced though, completely unbalanced to the point where we stopped playing it. But when it wasn't completely broken, it was pretty fun. And
yeah. Resident Evil, the future of that franchise. I'm very excited for.
yes, Resident Evil Village. Let's go. Let's get weird. Let's see what the hell that game's gonna be. And then I guess mine would be Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1.
Oh yeah, Killer Shredder
Just
game.
apps. In my opinion, that's the best remake that we've seen for a video game. In terms of like like finding a way to take the fundamental traditional ideas of the game and bring it to a new audience without drastically changing what made the game so great. What was really cool about that is they didn't really change the gameplay that much. So just having that fresh coat of paint, you realize how fundamentally tight and great those games felt, like even back in the day. Having the redone environments, having the 60 FPS just tied into the overall feel of it. But Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, absolutely perfect. Absolutely I have no complaints about that game. Not a single complaint about Tony Hawk 2, which is tough. As I get older, I'm a lot more nitpicky. But even if I love a game, I can find some I can dig in there and I can rip something apart if I really want. But with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, I have nothing to complain about. Maybe character customization could be a little more. You can't change your weight. Everyone is the same build. So there's one complaint for you.
Just cancel it. It's a terrible game now. But yeah, I loved it growing up, so I'm excited to get really going with that game as well.
So good. So good. All right, well, I'm going to start wrapping some stuff up here, but before we go, where can people catch you, Logan? Where do you hang
Oh,
out?
well, I dwell on Xbox with GT Charged 02 and is my gamer tag, and then um, find me on Twitter at LOGMEY92 and um, Also, if you like sports and stuff, I mentioned earlier I write NBA coverage for Bricktown Buckets and Daily Thunder, and then I have a podcast that I do when I have time on All About Gaming and write some stuff for Pixel Owl. So yeah, that's my street cred, I guess.
Though
So
that's where you can catch my boy Logan, dude. Thanks for hanging out. It was awesome to get a chance to sit down and chat. We haven't been able to do this for a little while. My workload's been a little insane, so I'm glad we were able to get you on the show and talk about all the stuff happening at the end of this year. And then, yeah, I mean, things will probably be a little bit slow news wise, but looking forward to seeing kind of what 2021 looks like. Once those vaccines are out and once society starts to reassemble itself, I'm excited to see what what gaming looks like.
oh my word, yeah, it's like what is it even like to eat in a restaurant or do
I know
anything anymore?
I haven't sat down and ate in a restaurant in so long. Just been eating, and to go's good. I've been doing my part supporting small businesses and getting to go food pretty frequently. Not as good. By the time I get home, it's kind of like soggy or stale, and I'm like,
I know it's like I haven't been in a restaurant since like March or April. It's been a very long time.
yeah, it's been weird. But thanks to everyone who hung out. Mr. Joanna Dark, huge shout out to all the super chats. Blondie but Geeky, Hazador, thanks for modding like Bowses, Sergeant Rake, Lethal Migraine. I hope we're still cool. I know I was giving you a little bit of a hard time, but it's all love. It's all in fun. And then yeah, next week will be. I'm trying to get Rand next week. I don't have it confirmed, so I don't know for sure, but sounds like potentially Rand Al Thor will be getting grilled by me instead of Lethal Migraine next week. And then I don't know. Gaming wise, I don't know, a little Tetris. We'll see. Trying to keep it. I got to find that balance of a game that's like mindless enough to like play while talking pretty serious topics. And then Lethal Migrant says, the simple solution is not to buy things that will get soggy. I'm sorry, okay? I'm a carbo boy. Big old carb boy. And then yeah, we're gonna shut it down. So thanks for hanging out, guys, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one.